Hey guys, it's me, Kimberly Clark, and welcome to this video describing my experience using Marie Kondo's KONMARI method of decluttering and organizing based on her best-selling book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. So you've probably heard about this book if you've watched my channel or, listened to anyone talk about anything over the last year. It's been very popular, and there's been a lot of people that have been obsessed with this, that have really sworn by it, and a lot of kind of dissent and a lot of disparaging of this method and its validity. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about my personal experience using this book and the method that it outlines. Also to kind of talk about some of the issues some people have with it and what I think about that. For starters, I just want to say, if you're interested in doing this method, just read the book. The book is very short. It's like 200 pages. I've listened to this book as an audiobook. It's about 5 hours. It is not that long. I can't describe in any way better than she can what this method is. I really believe her when she says that you have to just do the method the way she describes it. If you've heard people talk about like holding each object, deciding if it sparks joy, moving on, that is part of the method, but it is not the entire process. You have to do exactly what she says. I wholeheartedly believe that, and the best way to figure it out is to just read the damn book. Just read the book. What I will tell you about in this video is my personal experience, how I got into it, how I discovered it, and what my experience has been like, and to touch on some things that she doesn't necessarily talk about in this book. So, okay, so I was shooting a web series a year ago, I think, or a year and a half ago, and it was at this couple's apartment in New York City, and, in New York, no one has enough space. We all have too much stuff. There's just shit everywhere, you've shoved everything in every crevice, everything everywhere. And I remember going into this couple's apartment, and I was looking around, and I was like, where's all this stuff? Where's all your shit? And I looked under the couch, nothing under the couch. I looked under the bed, nothing under the bed. Nothing. I'm like, something's up, because I've never, ever in my entire life been in anyone's apartment in New York City where there was not tons of shit under the bed. I mean, where else no one has closet space, it's real estate's too expensive, no one can afford any storage, you shove all your shit under your bed, right, when you're not using it. These guys had nothing under the bed. So I was like, okay, what gives? Where's all your stuff? What's happening? They were like, we just did this thing called the KONMARI method. It's by Marie Kondo, and it's based on her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. You should try it. And I was like, honestly, that's what got me into this. So then I got the audiobook as soon as I could, and I listened to it. I listened to it again, and then I was like, I gotta do this. Again, do not take my word for it. You should read this yourself, but the basic overview of her system it's a two-part system. First part is you discard down to the number of items that you are truly happy with, that you really need and love, and then you store it. The second part is storing all of those items. The first part is a very specific, very meditative process that she describes in great detail in the book. It involves physically touching every single object in your home and dealing with it. It involves having a very kind of personal, meditative interaction with all of your belongings. Basically, you touch each object, you ask yourself, does this spark joy with me? If it does not, then it goes away, you thank it, you respectfully discard it, and pass it on. That is a gross oversimplification of the book. Read the book. If you want more details, just do it. Read the book, read the book, read the book, read the book! A huge part of her method is categorically discarding. So instead of going room by room, closet by closet, trying to clean out this one closet today, no, you get all of one type of thing. So for example, the first category is clothing. So you gather all of your clothing from everywhere in the entire house, in your car, wherever you got it, your parents' house, your friend's house, the bar that you sometimes leave your jacket at, anywhere. You get all your clothing that you own, put it all on the floor, you touch each item individually, and you decide what you should keep and what you should discard. Doing that categorically allows you to really understand what you own. I would say the first kind of amazing thing that you figure out when you're doing this method is just that, how much you own. It's kind of insane as you go through it to think about how little awareness you have of like what you actually own. I mean, we spend so much money and invest so much time buying so many things and trying to find things that we love that will make us happy, and then when you realize like how few of those things you actually were even aware that you still had, it's like kind of horrifying. It's like insane and traumatizing, and hello, my whole channel is about anti-consumerism, and this is part of it, you know? Like, oh my god, confronting the harsh reality of us as individual consumers, it's a lot, it's a lot. It's gonna be intense, let me just say. So you go through all of your items, and she has a very specific sequence of how you discard things that is outlined in this book, and it's for a very specific reason. Basically, she talks about moving from things that mean less to you to discarding things that mean a lot to you. So, for instance, you start with clothing and you end with photographs. Now, everyone that I've talked to when I described to them discarding photographs, they were like, that's insane. That sounds crazy. I don't know if I could do that. But if you think about it this way, by the time you get to photographs, you've literally touched every other object in your house and decided whether to keep it or not. So not only are you really good at that discarding, meditative, self-questioning process, but you've also, like those photographs, it's really easy to see them for what they are because you can put them into context with every other item that you own, if that makes sense. I will say I completed the entire method. She says that the purpose of the method is to help declutter your life. It's something that you do once in your life. You will never ever have to do it ever again. Basically, it adjusts the way that you react and respond to your belongings in general, to consuming things, to caring for objects that you bring into your home. And it's best to do it all in one fell swoop as quickly as possible. Now, I did complete this entire method. It took me about 9 months to complete. Now, I know that sounds like a long time, and you're like, wait, she says as quickly as possible. But depending on how much stuff you have and how much time you can devote to this method, it can take a very long time. She says it takes people an average of anywhere from a couple months to a year to complete this method. It took me about 9 months to do it. Like I said, I did the entire method. I went through my clothes, I went through my books, I went through my papers, I went through my appliances, I went through every single thing I own, I went through my photographs, I went through my old journals, I went through all the shit that was at my parents' house. I touched every single object that I have ever owned, that I've ever held onto, and I've dealt with it, addressed it, and either kept it and stored it or passed it on. In total, I disposed of about 88 garbage bags, like the big black garbage bags full of stuff, and a whole handful of other things that were too large to fit in garbage bags, like some furniture, some appliances, and other stuff like that. I think I can safely say I got rid of at least half, maybe more, maybe 3/4 of my earthly possessions. They are gone. They are not in storage. They are out of my life. They are discarded. I have left them. I have thanked them. I've passed them on. They are gone. Imagine like having half as much stuff as you have. Just like, don't think about how you get there. Just think about what your room right now, wherever you're sitting, what it would look like with half as much stuff in it. Look in your bag, in your purse. Imagine what that would feel like with half as much stuff in it. Imagine everything in your home and everything you encounter in your life being something that truly sparks joy in you and not something that is just there because you have not been able to let go of it. When you see it in person, like when I went to my friend's apartment and saw it, it really is this palpable freedom. You see that feeling of relief and being unburdened by things. It's truly remarkable. It feels so good. And the process is, in my opinion, absolutely worth it. Like I said, this took me about 9 months to complete this method. What was my life like during those 9 months? What was my house like? How was it to live? The kind of short description of it is I had a lot of shit lying around in bags that I didn't know what to do with. That might mean there might be some papers or some books lying in places where you don't know what to do with them. For example, we had a bunch of books against our wall in our living room that we didn't know what to do with. We had a pile that we were going to keep, and we had them on the bookshelf, but the rest of them that we were going to discard, it was hundreds of books. We didn't know what to do with them, so they just kind of sat in our living room for a couple months until we were able to organize ourselves enough to bring them to a used bookshop to sell them or donate them. Same thing with clothing. I had 15 bags of clothing sitting in my office because I didn't want to just throw them away. I wanted to recycle them. I wanted to donate them to an amazing organization, like a place that would actually do good, not the Salvation Army, not Goodwill. Salvation Army has ties to anti-gay, anti-women's rights organizations. I'm not really a fan of them and supporting them. Same with Goodwill. Goodwill is not a nonprofit organization. It is not a charity. When you donate things to Goodwill, they just sell them in their Goodwill stores and they employ people at a very low pay rate. Not the best working situation. But if you really wanted to donate to an organization that is really providing for people, that's like a real charity, look for an organization like Housing Works. Housing Works is a fabulous organization in New York City. They provide work and housing and medicine and food for people living with HIV and AIDS and homeless people. Fabulous, fabulous organization. Find a shelter near you. Find a women's shelter, a shelter for LGBT kids, for homeless kids. There are organizations that are really good to donate to, and because I didn't want to just donate to anybody, I really wanted to find the right organization. It meant that my clothing was kind of sitting around in my house till I could figure that out. I've seen other people talk about the KONMARI method, and they've kind of said the same thing. Like, you have these piles of things. If you don't want to just throw things away, you got to deal with it in some way. Dealing with trash, as we know, living in a trash-producing society, it's tricky. You gotta figure out how to recycle. Sometimes you gotta go out of the way to do it. Anyway, so that's just a heads up. Obviously, if you're gonna discard 88 bags of things that you don't want, you're gonna have to figure out how to deal with them. And honestly, most of it's just going to go in the garbage. Now, environmentally, a lot of people have trouble throwing things away. We're like, I can't create that much waste. My carbon footprint's gonna get huge if I throw out all this shit. Like, oh my god, it's gonna be so bad. Here's why this method is amazing and not horrible for the earth. When you have things in your possession that are not fulfilling their potential, they're not serving their purpose, they're not being used and loved by you, then they are just in this weird limbo. Like, your clothes in the back of your closet are just like waiting to be worn, or like waiting to just be thrown away, just to die, just so they could like be put out of their misery. They're just like waiting. They're in this horrible limbo. If you have all these objects that are just collecting dust and, you know, very slowly biodegrading in your home, it's not going to help you or encourage you to be more environmentally conscious about your purchases in the future. The best thing to do is get a clean slate, start from the bare essentials of what you need, and only surround yourself with things that you love, and then and only then can you really think about purchasing new things and acquiring new things in a much more conscious and holistic way. I know that sounds super hippy-dippy and crazy. Again, read the book, read the book, read the book, read the book. It'll make so much more sense. But suffice it to say, the amount of waste that you produce by doing this method is nothing to the amount of waste that you are going to prevent yourself from producing by totally changing the way that you think about consumption and objects, etc. Now, the huge selling point about this method is you only do it once. You never do it again. Your entire life is changed. You're done. You don't have to do this every year. You don't have to do declutters. You don't have to do any of that. You're done. Once you do this, you're done. Now, you're like, okay, so does that mean that in my life, like, once I finish this, I have, like, a little mental checklist of, like, oh, do I want to buy that? Oh, let me go through the KONMARI method and really... No. It's not like that. It's not like you are adding on this other, like, routine to your life to help you, like, be a smart consumer and, like, only buy things that truly spark joy. No, 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 no. Simply the act of doing this method, discarding everything and storing everything in a way that respects every object you own, allows you to see every object that you own. If you want to see what a KONMARI storage situation looks like, check out my makeup collection video. I basically use the KONMARI methodology to store all of my makeup, and you can kind of see how easily accessible and how lovingly I've, cared for all of these elements of my makeup collection. If you want to see what it looks like, check out that video. It'll show you very specifically what KONMARI storage looks like. Once you do that, once you go through that entire process, which again is very meditative, you're having a conversation with yourself, you're putting your objects into your home, you're giving them life, you're giving your home life, you're giving your home the kind of ability to influence where things go. You're working with your home in helping you put things where they're supposed to be. It's like this very Zen feng shui-esque situation that happens. Once you do all of that, just going through that process, it's like changing your metabolism. It's like working out enough that your metabolism, like the way you process food, is fundamentally changed without you even having to do anything about it. Like your body just processes food differently because your metabolism's now stronger. That's exactly what this method is like for your consumerism, right? So you do this method and it increases your consumerist metabolism. It just organically lets you deal with things in a much more efficient way. You don't have to think about it, it just happens. You're never gonna buy something that you don't truly love, or if you do, you're gonna deal with it and it's gonna be fine. You're not gonna have to think about it. Things will not pile up in your life. They will not burden you. You won't have this experience that so many of us have with our belongings, which is like, you want me to use you one day, you want me to throw you away, like, oh my god, there's too many of you, I can't deal with it. It's like stressful, right? Once you do this method, you will never deal with that ever again. Like, you will not acquire things that will ever put you in that situation, and the way that you deal with all of your belongings will be fundamentally changed, and on such a deeply subconscious level that you don't have to really actively think about it. It'll just happen. It sounds like magic, but it really is like meditation. I can only really talk about this book like as like a religion or like a practice, like a meditative practice. The specifics of like how effective it is, you kind of just have to trust and like figure out for yourself, because there's nothing about my life that I could show you that would make sense for you. Like, all of my solutions that I've come up with using this method are for me, and all I can say is that this book is for you. It will tailor itself for you. You will make it work. It will work for you if you do it, if you follow her steps, if you do it the way that she describes it. A lot of people have been like, minimalism is for rich people. Like, the whole aesthetic, the whole lifestyle, getting rid of things that don't bring you joy. What if you don't have a lot of things? What if you need things to survive that don't bring you joy, but whatever? The method in this book is so adaptable to your own lifestyle. You will make this work for you no matter how much stuff you have or no matter how little stuff you have. The fact of the matter is that marketing and consumerism and the way that products and food and assets are marketed in our culture, they are not marketed exclusively to people that can afford them. Rich people are not the only people that are being told they need to buy and consume lots and lots of things. A method that helps you deal with the things that you actually already own and help you stop buying things you don't need, this should be available for everyone as well, and just as functional for everyone. This minimalism, like, this isn't really that. Like, this isn't the Noguchi coffee table method. Like, it's not, you'll be fine. You're gonna be surrounded with plenty of shit that's gonna make you happy. Don't worry. My nail polish collection is back there. I've got about 200 nail polishes. If you thought that I was going to do this book and discard down to 2 nail polishes, that's, no. 200 nail polishes is the right amount of nail polishes for me. For you, the right amount of nail polishes to own might be 3, might be 2, but for me, it's 200. You would look at my beauty room and you're like, this isn't minimal, like, you're not a minimalist, but every single object in here is something that sparks joy in me that I love and that I respect and am interested in using. So a couple little quick tips for doing this method. This is all assuming that you want to read this book, you want to do it. Here are some little tips that might help you do it better. Number 1, You gotta do it by yourself. You have to. It is helpful if everyone in your household is also doing it, but you have to do it individually. Also, you have to separate belongings that are exclusively yours and things that are yours that are part of a job. That is a separate thing. For me, I'm a sound designer, I'm a musician, I have a lot of instruments and a lot of technical sound stuff. That is separate. That is not my personal belongings. That is materials and objects that I need to keep for my job. So I don't have the same relationship to it. It's there because I need it for necessity, for financial necessity, for working. You have to go through all of your own personal stuff before you do that stuff. She talks about that in the book, but she doesn't make it explicitly clear, but I want to make it explicitly clear. Do all your personal belongings first before you move on to professional stuff. Okay, number 2, she doesn't talk about digital things. Now, I gotta say, I did the whole method. I've gotten rid of everything in my life. I threw away thousands of photographs, actual photographs. It's crazy. Like, yes, I feel better about it. I feel great. Read the book. You'll figure out why. It's amazing. But she doesn't talk about digital media. Now, I have like a 5 terabyte hard drive. I've got a lot of video. I've got a lot of projects, done a lot of graphic design, a lot of video stuff, a lot of music over the years. I've got a lot of data. And I have yet to go through that. Now, I'm going to apply the same methodology, the same exact thing, the same thing that I did with all the rest of my physical stuff. I'm going to apply to the digital stuff. I will let you know how it goes. Number 3, there are so many things that people will ask me about, I'm sure, in the comment section below, and my response to most of them is just going to be read the book. Read the book. Read the book, because it will answer it better than I possibly can. So please, just like, apologies in advance if I can't articulate the answer to your question as well as freaking Marie Kondo can. Just trust her, read the book. I will address one thing that a lot of people talk about or ask me about and are kind of concerned about. Time. This took me about 9 months to do. Now, it took me that long because I didn't have my entire days devoted to being able to do this method. I would work on a weekend, I would declutter stuff on a weekend, it would sit around for a couple days till I had another hour or two to go back and continue the method. Discarding everything, all the story, everything, it takes a really long time. But I will say, my partner and I both did this process before we moved down to New Orleans. I've moved about 10 times in my life, from apartment to apartment in New York City. I've never had a more seamless, smooth, easy move in my life, and I moved halfway across the country. I believe 100% it is directly related to the fact that I discarded down to the right amount of, the essential amount of objects for me, that I was able to store them in their proper way in my home before I moved. So when I moved, when I packed everything, it made sense. It was very easy to pack everything. I knew where everything was. When I unpacked everything, it was really easy. I knew where everything went, everything had a place. It was crazy. It was super easy. It allowed me to get set up in my beauty room and start making videos super fast. And in that sense, it allowed me to like get back to work really fast after moving. Basically, it allowed me to save so much time now. It is so worth it. It will save you so much time in the future. It will save you time looking for stuff that you don't know where it is. It will save you time, like, trying to think about what you have. Should I buy this blush? I don't know if I have a blush that looks like that. No, you know what you have, because you've touched every single object that you own, and you only keep the things that spark joy in you. I know all the blushes that I have. I'm never gonna buy a dupe again, because I know what I have, because I've touched it. It's crazy. I can't express to you enough how much time doing this method has saved me, and how much money it saved me, because time is money, people. Like, if you have time, then you have money. Like, you can spend more time doing things that you love, doing things that are profitable, that make you money, doing things efficiently, getting your shit done, getting it together, getting organized, getting on top of your life, moving forward, just moving ahead. This method is about the future. It's about moving forward. It's about moving past your past, about letting the past go, moving on. And I'm going to end it on a high note. I just can't rave enough about this method. Like I said 30 times in this video, buy this book, read this book, do it. Just do it. Just do it. It's going to make you feel good. Any question you have, she's got an answer for it in the book. If you've read this book and you've tried the method and you still have a question about the method, leave it down below and I will share my experience with you specifically to talk about it. But if you really just are like, tell me more about this method, here's the more. It's the book. Read it! I don't know what else to say. Like, this method changed my life. I'm not a spiritual person. At all. I was raised atheist by two former Catholics, and I'm just not spiritual. Like, I'm a really moral person. Like, I, you know, believe in good and doing the right thing. Obviously, so much of my channel is about social justice and, like, helping other people. But I've just never had this kind of, like, I've never found something that, like, I've been able to, like, tap into on, like, a deeper kind of energy, spiritual level. It's crazy to say, like, this is the closest thing that I have found. Like, I am such a cynical, nerdy, sciencey person. Honestly, like, a couple years ago, if I were watching this video, I would look at me and be like, you're crazy, you're just like hippy-dippy nonsense, this is just like bullshit, it's mumbo-jumbo, it's a scam. But I don't know what to say. If I could talk to myself 5 years ago, I would say, do this method. The faster you do this method, the happier you're gonna be, the quicker your life's gonna turn around, the quicker you're gonna change. Like, I just sound like a fucking evangelical preacher, but, like, I don't know what else to say about this. Like, that's all I can say. It's, like, the total truth. Like, I am a convert. I'm, like, in the cult of Mari Kondo. Like, I can't help it. I'm so sorry. If it seems, like, crazy and culty, you're right. It is. It's totally life-changing. It is, like, it's insane. I don't know how else to... There's nothing else I'm going to say about it. I've talked for 44 minutes. Hopefully I have edited this into some semblance of something that makes sense. And hopefully I've been able to translate in my kind of crazed ranting how valuable and exciting it has been to do this process. And I highly, highly suggest that you do it too. I'm Kimberly Clark. Please just check out my other videos. Look at my makeup collection video if you want to see what, like, a KONMARI storage situation really looks like. Check out the rest of my channel and you can, like, you know, see how, you know, it really does, this book really does fit into, like, my whole aesthetic and what I stand for. It's just great. I love you. I love you, Mari Kondo. Arigatou gozaimasu. Otsukaresama deshita. That's all I gotta say. Good freaking job. Otsukaresama deshita. Yes! Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Check out my other videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked hearing me rant about shit for 40 minutes. And leave a comment below. Let me know if you're going to try this method. Let me know if you've done the method, how far you've gotten, and if you agree with me. And here's to a better, more efficient future where we can be surrounded by things that we truly love. I'm Kimberly Clark. Bye! Read the book. Read the damn book. Just read the book. You should read this yourself. Read the book, read the book, read the book, read the book, read the book. Read the book, read the book, read the book, read the book. Assuming that you want to read this book, you read the book, you'll figure out why it's amazing. Read the book. Read the book. Read the book. Just trust her, read the book. Buy this book. Read this book. Do it.